All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to New North High School. And it is a pleasure to be back with you after spending so much time with you right after Superstorm Sandy had hit. For those that don't know me, I'm General Pat Murphy. I'm the commander of the New York National Guard, the fine men and women that serve in uniform every day for the state to serve their citizens. Thank you on behalf of all of them. So today marks our inaugural. You are the first to get a glimpse into the first responder preparedness. First Responder Citizens Corps training is a governor's initiative. Today's program will go something like this. We're going to have some introductory comments to kick off the event. We're going to have comments by Assemblyman Cusick, Senator Lanza, the governor, and we also have with us Commissioner Hauer as well from DHSES. We'll have a short break right after we get done with our remarks. We want to reset just a minute so that we can come back and start our sessions. There'll be 2 sessions of training, the first one on preparedness, and then we'll take just a brief break, and then we'll come back and talk about response and recovery as part of the training package. We would like to have questions as it relates to the event, but we'd like to hold those until the end of the session so that you have the information and then can best ask the questions. So at the end of the session, they'll leave a little bit of room for those questions. At the end of the day, you'll get a certificate that acknowledges that you've gone through this preparedness training, and also a go kit, a starting point for you with emergency preparedness, self-emergency preparedness. And in that kit will be things like a first aid kit, a flashlight with batteries, and an AM/FM radio, pocket radio, some safety goggles, and other safety necessities that will help you build on where we start today and into the future. It's my pleasure to be here today. It sincerely is. Just showing up for the training says that you are stepping up to be the first, to prepare yourself, to prepare your family, and prepare the community for what could happen next. In the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, New York committed unprecedented resources to recovery effort, determined to rebuild the communities better than ever. In the State of the State, the governor announced Citizens Preparedness Corps Training Program. And again, you are the inaugural event. This was a great place to start this, as we do many more events from here on around the state. These sessions will be led by the men and women of the New York National Guard, working with experts from the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, the Office of Emergency Management, the Office of Fire Prevention and Control, and other responders that are in our communities. Today is meant to serve as an introduction to the being prepared to respond to both man-made and natural disasters. This program will provide you with the tools and the resources for an emergency or disaster to respond accordingly, prepare yourself ahead of time, and be quick in the community. Your training also should not end today. It is our hope that you would continue to work towards the individual preparedness, family preparedness, and community preparedness. And the governor's launched a website to support that, www.prepared.newyork.gov. You'll see that several more times during the program of training, so you can get that marked down and look at it. It's a digital resource for Citizens Preparedness Corps community. The information, and again, the training that you received today is really that point of start. Disaster preparedness and a way ahead. We hope that these sessions will be informative and help build the community back stronger and better than ever. Again, your presence here today signifies your commitment to both yourself being prepared, your family, and that community that we're looking for. So what I'd like to do now is pass the program over to to somebody that on a regular basis after Superstorm Sandy, when I was in your community with our National Guardsmen, was here side by side with you. I'd like to introduce Assemblyman Michael Cusick.
Let's hear it for General Murphy and the National Guard. You know, the General was here plenty of times after Superstorm Sandy, and the National Guard was here, and I think it's fitting that we start this program with the National Guard here on Staten Island. And I want to thank the General for all his service and what he's done for us here on Staten Island. I have the honor of introducing my colleagues who have joined us today. We have with us Senator Diane Savino, Councilwoman Debbie Rose, Councilman Steve Matteo, I believe expected, I don't know if he's here yet, but District Attorney Dan Donovan. I also want to thank Borough President James Otto. And I believe we have representatives from our other legislative office holders. I believe Nicole Meliotakis' office is here today. And all our elected officials who have been there to help us to get through Sandy and to rebuild afterwards. I want to thank my colleagues here on Staten Island for all their work. You know, everyone here in this room, this is a big step. You know, this Citizen Corp, I have to thank Governor Cuomo for starting this program. What a great program to start on Staten Island. You know, I think that, yes, this is a statewide initiative that we are kicking off here in Staten Island, where I believe the unofficial Citizen Corp really began. You know, many of you in this room were out there helping your neighbors. You were out there helping people who weren't your neighbors. That's what makes Staten Island Staten Island. I believe that this is the perfect place to start the Citizen Corp because that's what Staten Island's all about. We're a large populated city, almost 500,000 people. But each one of us knows one another, as a neighbor, as a friend. Some of us are related. I have so many cousins here on Staten Island that I didn't even know about. But that's what Staten Island's all about. And just to see the amount of people who are here today to take part in this program, just speaks volumes about the character of Staten Island, but also speaks volumes about what you've gone through and what you see the future to be. You're not sitting home. You're not sitting around. You're not saying, woe's me. Not one person in this room today, and I've gotten to know many of you, once felt bad for themselves. They got up. They did what they had to do. You took care of your family. And you took care of your neighborhoods. And now we got to continue that. And that's the role of government. And that's why Governor Cuomo, our leader, from the day that Superstorm Sandy hit, he was there for us. He was there for Staten Island. After it hit, he was here for Staten Island. He was there handing out provisions. He was visiting neighborhoods. He had his staff out there working. He was there for us. When people needed support, a buyout, or help with their homes, who was there? Governor Cuomo in the state of New York. And now he is here for us today, this morning, to kick off a great initiative, an initiative that I venture to say no other state has has been able to do, has taken upon themselves to do. But New York can do it. Staten Island can do it. And we could do it because of the leadership of Governor Cuomo and the state of New York. And for that, I want to thank Governor Cuomo for starting this initiative here today and for continuing the support for the people of Sandy here on Staten Island. Thank you very much, Governor Cuomo. I see out in the audience, I'm sorry, Chief, I just caught you out there. Chief Marone, Michael Marone is here from the FDNY. Now at this time, I have the great pleasure to introduce my colleague, my friend, and my partner in many legislative initiatives that we've taken up in Albany and helped the people of Staten Island, your Senator, Senator Andy Lanza.
Good morning, all. General, Governor, my colleagues. Diane Savino is already pointing to her watch. Thank you, Assemblyman Cusick. You know, let's hear it for Assemblyman Cusick. We are so fortunate. We truly are. We truly are fortunate and blessed to have someone like Assemblyman Cusick representing us every day in Albany and across Staten Island, and it's my privilege to call him a partner and a friend. We do have a great Albany delegation as well, Senator Savino and the rest. We really do come together in a way that I don't think anyone else comes together across the state. You may be asking, what is a Republican doing up here about to introduce the Democratic governor? Because plenty of people out there tell you this is not the way politics works. Well, I'll tell you why. Because our governor is a different kind of politician. He's a different kind of leader. When he came to Albany, things weren't working. And that's a fact. And rather than play the blame game like so many before him did, because that's the easy way to do it, he came with a plan. And he said, we're going to turn things around. And he came and we enacted reform legislation for our government, one of the first pieces of legislation that we did together to restore confidence and trust in government. We came together with a whole legislative agenda that the governor brought to make New York State better. This governor reduced taxes to the lowest level in over 50 years. And for the first time in a long time, there is new hope and vitality in New York State and in our economy. And that's because of the great leadership of Governor Andrew Cuomo. You know, to me, he really epitomizes leadership in action. And today is another example of that. When Hurricane Sandy hit, we all saw how it turned upside down our lives. Lives were lost. Our shoreline was destroyed. Homes full of memories. Businesses closed down. And there was great concern about what the future would bring. Was this going to be a fatal blow to our community and to our state? Governor Cuomo said no. And he mobilized the resources of this state in a way that we hadn't seen since September 11th. And he said, we're going to come back, and we're going to come back stronger. For too long, when emergencies occurred, disasters hit, we've come to be satisfied simply to put the pieces back together. Governor Cuomo said that's not enough. We're going to do that, but we're going to do it better. And he has. He went to the federal government and he lobbied for billions of dollars of aid, and he got it. We enacted new laws to reform the way the insurance industry works, and it's better. He brought resources into the very communities, our communities right here on Staten Island and across the affected area, in a way to make sure that every dollar was spent to bring the greatest relief possible. You know, the buyout program was born right here on Staten Island. Conversations with Senator Savino and Jimmy Otto, I remember, that's where the first conversation about that unprecedented occurred. And I can tell you, I'm not being critical, but there were lots in government who resisted and did not think it was a good idea. The city of New York, for instance, didn't think that was the proper way to spend money. Governor Cuomo walked our neighborhoods, street by street. He went back, he took an assessment, and he said, no, this is the right thing to do, and we're going to do it. And even though the city is not going to spend its dollars in that way, Governor Cuomo took dollars that were meant for the rest of the state and said, we're going to bring them to Staten Island, and we're going to do this buyout program because that is how we come back stronger and safer. And I thank him for that. And as Assemblyman Cusick noted, we all saw something amazing and wonderful occur. We saw people come together in a way that without that, I'm not sure we'd be here together in the position that we are in. And Governor Cuomo recognized that too. He strengthened our infrastructure. You already see things happening along the shoreline. He has enacted a whole host of programs to make New York more prepared for future emergencies. But the one thing that he saw and the one thing that he marveled at when he talked to us every time he visited Staten Island was you. He recognized that the greatest resource we have is all of you. And he's right, and you are, and today is about that. Rather than simply relying on you coming together the way we know you have and always will, the governor wants you to be even more prepared when you do it. God forbid you need to do it the next time. It's called the Citizen First Responder Corps. The governor's going to talk to you about it right now. Savino is now throwing her watch on the floor. I have the great and distinct privilege of introducing to you a person who I believe is the greatest governor the state has ever seen, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. 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 Good morning to all of you. First, to the organizer of today's event, General Patrick Murphy, who, as you've heard, is the head of the National Guard statewide. He's one of the best leaders literally in the nation. And we know that because we've seen the National Guard in action. Let's give a big round of applause to General Murphy and the National Guard. To Commissioner Jerry Hauer, who's also a national, international expert in emergency services. He did it for New York City. He now does it for the state of New York. He's been in Washington. He's been all over the planet. We couldn't have had a better man at the helm than Commissioner Jerry Hauer. Let's give him a round of applause. Senator Lanza asked, what's a Republican senator doing introducing a Democratic governor? I didn't know he was a Republican. That's why. Senator Lanza, Assemblyman Michael Cusick, they're both exactly right. First, they've done extraordinary work for you in Albany. You send them to Albany to make the state government work, and it is working better than it has in decades because of their leadership, because of their effort. Senator Lanza is exactly right. We took a different track. You know, Albany was not working for a long time. You know all the gridlock you saw in Washington over this past couple of years where they're fighting, and nothing's happening? That was Albany for many, many years. Albany invented gridlock. Washington just copied it. But we did it first. It was year after year. We couldn't get anything done. They couldn't pass budgets. It was all politics. And we sat down 3 years ago and we said, look, we have to do this a different way. It's not about the Republican Party. It's not about the Democratic Party. We're here to represent the state of New York. We're New Yorkers first, and that's the commonality. People send us here to get their business done, not political business done. So let's stop the politics and let's start the government. And it worked. We lowered the taxes for the middle class, income tax, more than 50 years. This year we're going to cut business taxes across the board. We brought government spending down to its lowest level in 40 years. And businesses are coming back to New York. Jobs are coming back to New York. Unemployment is down all across the state. And the new approach is making it work. And leadership is making it work, like from Andrew Lanza and from Michael Cusick. Give them another round of applause. It is fitting that we start this program that we're very excited about in Staten Island, because if there is a place that symbolizes the responsibility of individuals and the spirit of community and the spirit of community giving, that place is Staten Island. The ties that bind people, the fabric of society in Staten Island is a beautiful thing. And we see it when times are at their worst. We saw it in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. When things are at their worst, that's when Staten Islanders are at their best. When the situation is the most ugly, that's when the people are the most beautiful. So give yourselves a round of applause for what you've done. Now, as governor of New York, I have a lot of headaches. A lot of headaches. That's why I get paid the big bucks. I have to worry about the budget. I have to worry about the state legislature. They're nice, but once in a while they can be. I have to worry about running the prison system. But you know what keeps me up at nights most of all? Is being ready for an emergency. That's my greatest fear as governor, that there's going to be an emergency that we can't handle. And there's going to be an emergency that we're not prepared for. And there's going to be an emergency where people are going to get hurt or even worse. Why? I've been governor for just about 3 years. In 3 years, 9 federally declared disasters. 9. My father was governor for 12 years. There was a handful of federally declared disasters. This is a much different reality that we are dealing with. And frankly, nobody even knows what we're dealing with. You're going to have a debate about the cause. Is it global warming? Is it not global warming? They don't know. And they're arguing about it. And I don't want to get into that. We do know this. Whatever is happening is generating an extreme weather pattern like we have never seen before. That is a fact. The extreme weather is a fact. And everyone says it's going to continue. And we're seeing situations that we just never saw before. We never saw Superstorm Sandy before. Nothing that is of literally of historic consequence. We've had earthquakes in upstate New York. We've had flooding in upstate New York that they've never seen, period. Houses that existed for 100 years washed away. We've never seen these types of situations, and they're more and more and more, and they're more frequent. First couple of emergency situations, they said to me, oh, this is a 1 in 100 year flood. I said, really? 1 in 100 years? Good news. I'm not going to be here the next time it happens. I have now been through about 5 1 in 100 year floods. So the old calibration doesn't even work anymore because we're dealing with a new reality, what they call a new normal. So what do? You learn everything you can from the situations that you've been through. You learn, and as Senator Lanza said, you don't just repair and rebuild, you build back better, you build back smarter. What happened? What is happening? How can we be stronger? How can we be more resilient? How can we be more ready? So when and if it happens again, and I expect it to happen again, we're going to be in a better situation to deal with this. And we spend a lot of time working on this from one end to the other. We're building back better than before. We're redesigning the way we build homes. You'll see now, for the first time ever, homes on stilts in the state of New York. You never saw that before. Homes with breakaway barriers to reduce the friction. You've never seen that in the state before. Areas that we shouldn't have built in the first place, that we're giving back to Mother Nature, where we're saying, that's Oakwood Beach, communities that say, you know what, we don't want to go through this again and again and again, and we want to move literally to higher ground. That's part of it. Areas like Manhattan, how do you protect the subway system and the tunnels? They built Manhattan. Nobody ever thought of a flood coming over Manhattan. So Manhattan is built. People talk about how high we built in Manhattan. The real marvel is how deep we built in Manhattan. Manhattan goes down 10, 15 stories. You have a flood that comes over the top. You flood those 10 stories underneath. You have no way to pump the water out. How does the water get in? All those subway openings, all those stairways, all the grates. How do you close every one of them? How do you close the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel? How do you close the Queens Midtown Tunnel? We're experimenting with big inflatable plugs. Literally, just a big inflatable plug. They took me down to see it. They said, we have a great idea. And when I looked, I said, that's a big inflatable plug. Yes, that's a great idea. I said, I could have come up with a big inflatable plug. I have to pay you to come up with a big inflatable plug? But we're coming up with new designs, new technology. How do we prepare? We're going to have in this state the first college of emergency management, cyber terrorism in the country. Literally, there is no college dedicated. So everything we can do to get ready, we are doing. Now, what is our greatest asset when an emergency happens? Senator Lanza said it. He always steals, by the way, all my best material. That's why I really don't like when he goes first. Because we sit there and he says, so what are you going to say, Gov? And me, like a dummy, I tell him, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this. He then gets up and says what I just told him I was going to say. So if it sounds like I'm copying Senator Lanza, that's not really true. It's that Senator Lanza copied me, you just don't know it. The greatest asset is you. That is the greatest asset. National Guard are great. Homeland Security, great. First responders, great. Police Department, Fire Department, great. Our greatest asset is you. You are there first. By definition, you are the first responder in your own home. And you are the first responder on your own block. And you can be the first responder for your own neighbor. You have the willingness, you have the desire. We want to make sure that you have the training and the equipment that goes with your desire to be of service. And that's what this is all about. No state in the nation is doing this. Let's educate, let's train our citizens so when and if this happens again, we have the most prepared first responder corps, because literally the citizens of this state are in a position to be the first responders, and literally starting in your own home, then being able to help your neighbors, then being able to help your block. This is just the beginning. This is the first session. We're going to have follow-up sessions. We're going to have a website that gives more advanced training and a place to stay together and a place to communicate. But it is a simple concept, but a concept that can make all the difference in the world. When you know what you need to know, that knowledge will give you a comfort. And it will give people in your home comfort. And when your neighbors know that you're getting the right training, it'll even give them comfort, that you'll know what to do if there's a situation that arises. That's what today is all about, taking our greatest asset and giving it the training and the expertise to make a difference. We know you're ready, willing, and able. Now you're going to have the tools. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come out. I applaud you and your sense of duty and your sense of community for coming out of your home and coming here on a Saturday morning to be part of this. It says something about you and each and every one of you, that you cared enough to come. That's what Staten Island is all about. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Governor, for being here today to kick off this inaugural event. Thanks to everyone here for participating. You're making your community that much better.